What's up, brothers and sisters? Kadal here, Bulls on Wall Street. A big day in the market. The QQQ has tested its all-time highs, and we are primed for a potential breakout. We've had a lull in the markets for days, if not weeks, in the general indexes and the large cap names. Today, we unstuck, and we saw heat across the board in some of the bigger names. Because of recent, the market has been hot, but it's been in like random names like nuclears and cryptos. And we finally saw some selling in the cryptos and things of that nature, and the money flew back into the large caps. And so we got to stay nimble in this market. So let's go into these indexes, and then let's dig into the watch list, because we've got awesome, some awesome setups for tomorrow with the Google and AMD earnings, along with Reddit and so many other names. So let's start digging in, because this is the biggest kind of week for earnings that we're going to have in this earnings season in terms of big tech and things of that nature. So let's get into this and start digging through. So the QQQs is testing resistance. We had pretty much a trend day. We gapped down, and then we had the JOLTS report come out. And so we ended up with this big kind of spike, and then it was just off to the races. The market never looked back. It was just running hot. I mean, there's not much else to say. It was running hot, and it was a broad-based, run. We also had a run in the SPY, but it was trailing the QQQs because big tech was leading the way, which is always a good sign. You want to see the tech market leading the way. You always want to see the QQQ outpacing the SPY in the Dow, because that tells you that risk is on the table, right? And frankly, they're just more fun to trade. So the SPY is looking great. The IWM is still stuck in range, so I think we could just leave this alone. My apologies, my son's right on the ground below me. Old Colt here is right on the ground below me, but we've got a lot of cool stuff happening. Let's first, before we even get started, dig into the Google earnings, because Google finally came out of this range here. It's been stuck with news after news, right? Like antitrust, let's break this company up. All this kind of nonsense that's been happening. And then we have the good old-fashioned, right, W pattern, and it's taking out the neckline over here, and it's off to the races. Now, is this going to be some hot thing to trade tomorrow? Probably not. It could be, but this is great for the longer-term health of the market. And also, there'll be a setup in this somewhere in the next handful of days if we can see, how the rest of this is going. AMD shit its pants, just laid a big old fat blumpkin, what we'd call in the Midwest a Cleveland steamer, and dude, down 4%. Will this tank? I don't know. It's just stuck inside a bigger kind of giant range, and I think it's just maybe a leave alone. The rest of the semiconductor market was hot, so I think that's where we can have some of our focus, and the money will just flow out of this, and maybe it goes into something else. Beyond that, we saw earnings from Visa. And, you can see here you've got a breakout setting up. Not my particular flavor of stock to trade, but you do have a breakout and a multi-level breakout here, right? So you got this big, long, flat top, and then you've got a kind of triple tapper on a shorter-term basis. Snapchat also had earnings out, breaking range. All of these are in play for tomorrow for day trades, right? If you're a swing trader, you got to wait for them to flag or pull back. But for day trading, we want all of these on the watch list. Reddit had a big breakout, 27%. Dude, they beat on revs, they beat on EPS. They actually turned a profit, I believe. Look at that, revenue rises, Q3 profit. So you have a whole host of kind of things going on here that I think are pretty good. And then you have an IPO breakout. So this will be in play tomorrow. Now, look, it's up 30%. So we're probably not going to be able to do like a crazy amount of stuff with it. But I think that all of this we want to put on the watch list, all right? All three of those. FSLR had earnings out. I think this is also something we need to add into the watch list. You've got a kind of a bear flag breakdown. And if you're just judging by the way that ENPH kind of got shredded on its earnings, and now it's bouncing back into resistance, probably going to fade off too, then we've got all sorts of nastiness that's going to be happening probably in the solar sector. So something to kind of keep mind of as we go through this. And guys, there's a whole host of other earnings out here too that are looking, both nasty and good. And we'll kind of dig into those a little bit more tomorrow, in the chat room, or if I go live on the YouTubes. Let's dig into the regular names now, because there's some hot ones here. Meta. Dude. What a monster move into the close. Its earnings are coming out, so we do have to be a little bit mindful. But I think we want to be trading this for the next couple days here. Definitely for tomorrow, we want to be trading this. So you get a week open, and then boom, right, just off to the fucking races. I mean, you don't get any better. You don't get any better than that one. I mean, that's looking pretty good. You got AVGO. Big stick today. They announced some news with OpenAI, so that's the ChatGPT, that they're going to be working on some kind of chips. And then there was one other company you can see here. Microsoft back OpenAI drops foundry plans partners with Broadcom and the TSMC to build the AI chip. So that's going to be something that's going to be in play. Keep an eye on that bad boy here. Beyond that, look, you have still like a handful of these kind of specky names that are still holding up. But I think, based on the action today, I'm wondering if maybe some of the fun is over in cryptos. I don't know. I mean, MSTR held up pretty well, but their earnings are coming out. But they were just hard to trade today. Maybe it was like a one-day late reaction, like they ran up in advance of Bitcoin kind of hitting the 72, 73, and they just need like a little bit of a rest. But I'm going to keep them on my watch list, but the action on them was terrible. I had, and I sold off, good chunk of it. But, we took this Mara at the open, and literally like right at the open. And it popped in here, and I sold off half of them. And I was like, oh, man, here we go. Like, big stick here. And I just turned my head for, a second, and then, boop, right? Like, damn. Anti-big stick. I mean, you could just hear the stop losses just ringing like a cash register, like ching, 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 ching. Right? Like for whoever took the other side of that. Just disgusting, right? Just disgusting. It really is. I mean, we know these things are turds, but let us have our day in the fun, right? Like, let us do something about this. So I think, the play for tomorrow is going to be probably a little bit more on the large cap names versus the, specky names that we've been trading, because that's kind of like, with these Google earnings and all this kind of stuff, like maybe this is kind of going to take over a little bit. So I want to be focused really on these earnings names tomorrow. FSLR on the short side, FSLR short side, Reddit, Snapchat, Google, AMD, and there's a whole host of these other ones that we can do. I also, we had a light open. If we get a light open tomorrow on Tesla, that's 3 days. That would be a 3 days of pullback. We take this thing with some gusto, right? When you get a big push like this, you get 3 days of pull. That's a telltale sign to start positioning yourself for the rip, maybe even a swing trade. You could go 270 calls, right? That's about 1 day's worth of ATR. 270 calls, those are cheap, right? I wouldn't say cheap, but, relatively. If you wanted to go a week out, they're a little bit more expensive, but whatever. I think that this is the play for tomorrow. If we get the week open, you might even have to wake up early. Like if it starts to shake off in the pre-market, like come back in. I still think these, we had an inside day on SMAR. So I'm keeping an eye on this if it takes out this 22. ACLO did have a little bit of a push into the close. If this has a week open, because this is an inside day, dude, we take both of these. Guys, the inside day setup for day traders has been the hot thing for in the market for quite some time. So I want to have those two on a focus for kind of more of those mid-cap type of names. After that, we're focusing in on some of these big bad boys and these earnings. We keep this real simple. You want to be trading earnings plays this time of year, not pre-earnings, but post. Wait for the first pullback. Wait for the ORB. Do all of that fun stuff, because that's where... Dude, that's where the real heat is. And why is that it's important is, look, you have these names like, VFS or, right, these kind of names. Like, They open up and they just take out the pre-market highs and they'll just rip, right? And you can catch these huge moves, 30 million shares, 2163. Like that, we want to play this for tomorrow too. Like that's a real good look, right? There was WGS. Like this stock is not going to move like this on its own, right? But when you have earnings come out, right? Net loss revenues, shares rise. Like look at the range on this. It opens up, guys. This is the power of earnings, right? This thing opens up 64, goes to 84. Like you can't find that kind of range in just some regular stock. Like you're going to trade Microsoft and be like, trade it for a 1%, or you're going to go in and find the best PRs with the cleanest charts and then hit these things to the upside. That's the power of earnings. So focus on those things tomorrow. That's where we got to go. Hot damn. I love you guys. Peace.